What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Savvy, and welcome back to the Savvy Show. And in today's episode, we have a long-awaited and overdue SCP that I've been waiting to dive deep in. And today's the day that we go balls to the wall. So this is SCP-3000 Anantashesha. So I hope I pronounced that right. It's a pretty unique name, to say the least. But yeah, a lot of you guys recommended me to check out this SCP. It's pretty massive, literally from just looking at the thumbnail and what you guys told me. So I'm interested in seeing what kind of powers he has. Is he more of like a guardian type SCP because he's so big, or is he just a sleeping beast waiting to be awakened? Like I'm intrigued. So if you guys are excited for this reaction and you guys want to see more recommendations, please remember to smash that like button. It really shows that you guys, if you guys want me to listen to some of you guys' suggestions, or if you guys just don't really care and like see me react to certain things, that's how I can find out. So remember, smash that like button, and also let me know in the comment section below how you guys felt about this SCP, and if this is one of your favorites, and if you guys enjoyed the reaction. And also remember, turn on post notifications so you do not miss an upload. I'm telling you guys, this is the best place to be. If you like SCP content and my reaction style, you're home, man. So have fun with the family and let's have a blast. And also remember, shout out to the rubber. Hopefully with the rubber, man, so far it's been hit and miss with this dude. Like, he does more story based, settings for the SCPs. Doesn't really go that much in detail about like the SCP's abilities and everything. Just in my own opinion, I could be wrong, but from what I've seen so far, I hope they go more in depth about the powers and abilities with this SCP compared to just some story plot with this SCP involved with it. You guys know what I'm saying? So hopefully we get that. So with that all out the way, without any further ado, let's get this show started. All right, SCP-3000 Anantashesha. Hope I said that right.
Dr. Krishnamurthy says, Manaba, I was wrong. God save me. It's nothing. SCP-3000 strikes and quickly consumes Krishnamurthy. 3000 disappears into the darkness and is no longer visible on exterior cameras. Hello, everybody.
Whoa.
I'm the Rubber. Today
just
we
ate
bring
the dude.
you a SCP Foundation Value Mail Class Object, SCP.
Oh, a Thamiel. My second one that I'm seeing so far it was this one and like the sun goddess. Oh, yo, okay, so this is important. It is probably like a guardian then that helps contain other SCPs. Something like that. Yo, okay, so I wasn't off the mark. Let's go.
SCP-3000, also known as an Anantashesha, is a massive...
Anantashesha. I was kind of close. Anantashesha.
Also known as an Anantashesha, is a massive aquatic serpentine entity strongly resembling a giant moray eel.
Jesus.
Its size is impossible to determine, but it is estimated to be roughly between 600 to 900 kilometers in length.
Impossible? Because it's so low on the surface of the water, like on the seabed? Or is this like you literally just can't, like, you guys tried and you just couldn't find the end of this tail? Yo, that'd be kind of crazy.
Its head measures roughly 2.5 meters in diameter, and sections of the body proper are as large as 10 meters in diameter.
Okay.
3000 is carnivorous and typically a sedentary creature, only moving its head in response to certain stimuli or during feeding.
Okay.
Despite its sedentary nature, 3000 is capable of moving quickly to dispatch prey.
Damn.
However, it doesn't actually need nutrients to maintain its biological function. Its size is huge. It is unknown exactly what happened to the prey it consumes, but during feeding, 3000 excretes through its skin a thin layer of a viscous, dark gray substance classified as Y909. The Y909 compound is a critical component in several modern and experimental amnestic compounds.
What is it?
SCP-3000 is a Class 8 cognitohazardous entity.
Jesus.
Direct observation of 3000 may cause several mental alterations.
Whoa.
The observer will experience inexplicable head pain, paranoia, general fear, and panic.
That makes sense. That makes sense because just looking at that creature, just imagine it being underwater, seeing a creature that you don't even know how big it is. That menacing. Oh no, I'll be freaked. I might just pass out underwater, to be honest. Literally, might just have a heart attack.
Paranoia, general fear and panic, and memory loss or alteration. According to a log from Site 151's historical records, written by Dr. Eugene Getz, during the initial discovery of SCP-3000, an unease was felt throughout the entire crew. A biologist of the Foundation named William felt the most ill. He began sweating profusely and act more and more erratically.
Just that observation.
At one point, expressing uncertainty as to the task he was assigned to handle.
What? Just an observation. Okay, they're pretty close to it still too, but like, damn. So it must be some like psychedelic powers going on. What the heck?
Uncertainty as to the task he was assigned to handle. When the crew finally came into contact with 3000, William began whimpering and had to be sedated.
Oh my
He
god.
muttered the word no over and over again, as if in disbelief. He went silent after a while as the crew approached 3000's head.
Why do they keep on going? Knowing William's acting this way. Wouldn't they think this is because of the SCP that we're getting closer and closer to? And why is William the only one freaking out? What about the others? Is it only targeting people that's like weak-willed? Like,
As if in disbelief. He went silent after a while as the crew approached 3000's head.
Yo.
Something had gone from William's eyes. Moments after they observed the head of SCP-3000, several other crew members complained of feeling hazy and of being uncertain what they were supposed to be doing. Captain Ritter wrote it off as nitrogen intoxication and forced them to continue approaching 3000.
Bro, yo, if this keeps on approaching, maybe the captain will just forget what he's doing or forget how to freaking drive the submarine. And they're stuck underwater. Okay, this is way too dangerous, bro. This is way too dangerous.
When the crews were 50 meters away from 3000, it turned slowly to look at them. At that moment, William began screaming and flailing, shouting about how he could see it in his head.
What?
Other Foundation personnel tried to restrain him, but he got free and smashed his face against one of the portholes. He hit it so hard, he cracked the inner layer of glass.
Oh my goodness.
The damage was bad enough that the crew had to surface and try to give William medical attention.
Yeah, hurry up.
But he was too far gone at that point. Despite the trauma, he still spoke briefly as he lay dying. He said, "There's nothing. By the time they had reached the surface several hours later, William was dead. In the log, Dr. Eugene Getz wrote that even now, he can still...
This dude's eyes bugging right now. You know he's stressing. Holy shit.
Dead. In the log, Dr. Eugene Getz wrote that even now, he can still see the eyes of SCP-3000. Despite this incident, a diving expedition was ordered to personally assess the creature.
Why do they keep on going back, bro? And it's kind of crazy when William was, going ham when they got super close. His eyes, turned white. Was it the eyes of, this SCP? That's why he was like saying, I see it in my head, it's in my head. Or he was just, going crazy. That would be kind of interesting to see what they were actually trying to convey. But either way, it's pretty cool that he has this kind of powers. I would never imagine, well, she or he.
And investigate the source of the thick gray fluid that had been observed floating around its head.
For real.
The dive
Is that
team
mucus or
was
something?
composed of 3 members of mobile task forces, Kingfishers. All divers were equipped with high-pressure suits as well as front-facing headlamps. The water was dark and cold. They were in position about 500 meters from the head of SCP-3000.
Yo.
Moments after being in the water, the team leader told the command station that they seemed to have some confusion over their call sign,
What do you mean
and they
you
were
should
not
know
sure where they
this?
were going. They felt an awful headache, like something's needling in their brain.
That doesn't make any sense, to be honest. Doesn't make any sense. There are a group of people on a submarine, and they're experiencing this. A lot worse than you guys right now. In a submarine, mind you. And this was prior before them coming in diving gear. So, like, wouldn't you think, like, even if you're not in a submarine, it will be a lot worse for you? And why did they not get this information that what happened before is that, you might, lose your motor skills or something? Like, is this like a different group of people? Like, do you not know what just happened? Like, why are you getting that close?
Regardless, Command told the team to continue towards 3000, but all the divers were completely confused about where they were.
Bro, you're done.
As they continued approaching, one of the divers began to utter ominous phrases concerning oblivion and dark eyes. Just at that moment, Command detected 3000 moving rapidly towards the divers.
Oh my
And their
god.
radios went silent.
Time to eat.
After 33 seconds of silence, one of the divers finally answered to the radio. According to the log, the leader of the team said 3000 opened its mouth, and suddenly there was the sound of a struggle through the other 2 radios.
When they sleep, we eat. Yo, that's what he's saying right now. Don't
Only
be caught.
one of them
Don't be caught
remains.
slipping.
The other 2 have been eaten by 3000. The one remained not being eaten, claimed that it's extremely difficult to form thoughts while near 3000.
Jeez.
He said that the fluid was seeping through the skin around its head, about a meter back.
Huh.
Just looking at the stuff is making him feel like the room is spinning.
Looking at the mucus? Is it the mucus that's causing him to feel this way?
It's really difficult to form thoughts while near 3000. He said that the fluid was seeping through the skin around its head, about a meter back. Just looking at the stuff is making him feel like the room is spinning.
So it is a fluid. He said looking at the stuff, not the SCP. So, interesting. I guess is another attribute of this SCP.
He feels nauseous, and his head isn't working right. He went to retrieve a sample and attached it to one of those little balloons and let it float up so Command will be able to get it later.
How did you get a sample
After
so close?
He claimed that he knows he is dying and told the Command station not to send anyone else out there.
Good.
It is so dark. Command continued to attempt to communicate with 09 Bravo, but Bravo grew increasingly unintelligible before eventually going completely silent. Bravo's radio stayed active over the next 3 days, and intermittent breathing could be heard until the radio ceased functioning. In the beginning, we have mentioned that
Was this dude still breathing while SCP-3000 ate him alive? Bro, that's crazy, bro. Like, yo, I feel sorry for that dude. At least he did his task till the end. Got a sample, threw it up, told him not to come down here. It's too dark, and this guy had the nastiest fate.
SCP-3000 is a Thomiel-class entity. Thomiel-class SCP
The plague doctor
that the Foundation specifically uses to contain other SCPs.
Wow.
Even the mere existence of the Thomiel-class objects is classified at the highest level of the Foundation.
Dang.
And their locations, functions, and current status are known to few Foundation personnel outside of the O5 Council.
How do you contain these SCPs? With do you just jump them in like while they were showing the plague doctor underwater? How is he containing them? Just, eating them and keeping them inside of their body? Or because that's not really containing, that's like literally consuming them. So how does he really contain?
So how can a giant moray eel that messes up your head helps the SCP Foundation in their operations?
Exactly.
The answer is in the dark gray substance classified as Y909. SCP Foundation uses a large number of amnestic during their work. It is vital for keeping the secrecy of the Foundation. The inclusion of the Y909 compound has shown a marked increase in the stability and long-term effectiveness of the Foundation's amnestics. Overall, amnestics utilizing Y909 break down 78% slower than their standard counterparts in cold storage, and 52% slower than their standard counterparts at room temperature.
Okay.
Additionally, individuals administered an amnestic regimen utilizing Y909 show a marked increase in suggestibility, memory clearance, and a significant decrease in additional side effects.
What?
Individuals treated with these amnestics express significantly fewer intrusive memories as those without Y909.
Wow.
With some individuals exposed to experimental compounds expressing no intrusive memories whatsoever, even at the 5 and 10 year marks.
That's interesting.
Due to the effectiveness of these treatments with the addition of Y909, the continued inclusion of the compound is essential to modern Foundation amnestic application. The SCP Foundation has completely relied on the Y909 compound with no means to synthetically reproduce it. Hence, the ATZAC protocol has been developed.
So, does this SCP just let them take his, fluids just like that without, killing them? Because it just seems like they're diving there, getting samples and going up. Like, does he not attack? Does he not care? That's interesting to think about.
This protocol dictates the way the Y909 compound is collected off of SCP-3000, and the way personnel are to interact with 3000.
Yeah, let's see.
According to the brief framework of the procedure documented, one individual D-class subject is to be administered a sedative and equipped with a high-pressure diving suit.
Okay.
The subject is then to be tethered to a remotely operated underwater vehicle, ROV, within the aft airlock. The airlock is to be flooded, and the subject is to be towed by the ROV towards
He's still knocked
site.
out too? That's
Upon
crazy.
reaching the meeting site, the ROV is to disconnect its tether, leave the subject there, and return to the Foundation submarine named SCP-3000 Aramida.
What?
Throughout this stage, SCP-3000 Aramida should monitor SCP-3000's position and adjust course if the entity begins to move away from the feeding site.
Oh my god.
Mission Command will provide additional instructions during this phase if necessary. During the feeding session, no personnel are permitted to leave the Aramida without authorization from the Mission Command.
Wow.
At a point after the total consumption of prey, SCP-3000 will begin to excrete Y909 near the foremost section of its body.
So they're using these D classes as cattle. Okay, I got it wrong from the jump. I thought they're going to use D classes to get the fluid, let alone anything else. But now they're just using them to feed this SCP so they could create the fluid. Okay, wow. Yo, no wonder he was knocked out, I guess. Took him out of his misery.
Specialized teams of deep-sea divers are to exit the SCPF Aramida through the aft airlock and approach SCP-3000. Collection of Y909 must take place during SCP-3000's digestive period, which is currently believed to be roughly 2.5 hours after consumption of prey.
Okay.
Teams must return to launch craft before the end of this period.
I guess he just doesn't attack during that period. Because it seemed like they just come there casually. What the hell?
During this period, the typical effects of SCP-3000 are less severe, though command should continue to monitor these teams for damage to their cognition.
That makes sense, okay.
After the collection of Y909, personnel are to transfer the collected substance to secure containers before returning to the surface.
Dang.
The mission administrator on board the Aramida is to monitor the substance throughout transport. The following report concerns 2 doctors.
Uh-oh.
The Foundation's Level 3 researcher, Dr. Krishnamurthy, and a staff clinical psychologist, Dr. Manava.
What happened?
Dr. Manava was assigned to interview Dr. Krishnamurthy after he attempted to exit out the Aramida's aft airlock without diving equipment.
Bro, what are you doing?
Dr. Krishnamurthy begins discussing how he feels disconnected from his mind and tired from trying to keep it together.
Is it from the fluids?
He's forgetting things, having other people's dreams, and faces he doesn't recognize. Places he has never been.
Faces, other people's dreams, places he's never been. Okay, there's a lot more than just like, you know, getting your mind like foggy from the fluids. It seems like there's something more going on underneath the surface. No pun intended. But yo, that's really interesting. They dropped that there. I doubt they would dive deeper in that, but that just leaves me with a lot more questions.
He feels disconnected from his mind and tired from trying to keep it together. He's forgetting things, having other people's dreams, and faces he doesn't recognize, places he has never been. Clearly, his proximity to 3000 is greatly affecting him. At this point, Dr. Krishnamurthy couldn't remember his mother's voice, but he recalls that she told him about a god called Anantashesha, the king of serpents that lies beneath the god Vishnu in the cosmos. When the light of the universe had gone out, all that would be left is Anantashesha. Dr. Krishnamurthy believes that SCP-3000 is Anantashesha. He says in the interview with Dr. Manava, I believe that SCP-3000 is Anantashesha. I believe that this aberration, this treachery against cognition, is the result of us being in the presence of a god.
That is literally crazy. Is it? I'm assuming it is a god because its name is Anantashesha. So he was right. What the heck? And that would make sense. Why they go insane and they don't remember anything, because they are within the presence of a god. Wow.
Not just a god, but a god who exists across all time, all at once, and even beyond. Maybe some part of the nothingness beyond the edge of time is part of Anantashesha as well. After 2 days of containment, orders were received to lift the hold order on Dr. Krishnamurthy in accordance to the terms of the ATSAC protocol. 3 hours after Dr. Krishnamurthy was released from his holding cell, the following incident took place. Dr. Krishnamurthy stands near the entrance to the Aramida's aft airlock while weeping and prepares to open the airlock door.
He's crying.
The interior airlock camera captures Dr. Krishnamurthy staring at the exterior airlock door for a full 2 minutes.
Bro, these tears are kind of showing me that he probably doesn't want to do this, but this is out of his control. Like, he can't control, you know, these actions right now. Maybe that's why he's crying. He's like, damn, like, I don't want to do this, but, like, I have to. Oh, my goodness.
Not moving an inch. After 2 minutes, he collapses on the ground. As 3000 slowly approaches the submarine, Dr. Krishnamurthy puts on a high-pressure deep-sea diving suit.
Okay, this is crazy, because now it's approaching. There's no way this SCP should know that he's approaching. He's in a submarine. This god shouldn't have these powers to, like, know that he's coming out. So for it to approach closer, I'm assuming some way, somehow, this god is controlling this SCP to do something for it, which is, you know, coming out so it can eat. And that's why this dude was crying, because he knows, like, yo, it's too late. There's nothing left. I can't control myself. These thoughts are not mine, which is probably the SCP's. Yo.
And then moves towards exterior door controls and then exits the Aramida's aft airlock.
Damn.
SCP-3000 slowly appears out of the darkness, reaches Dr. Krishnamurthy, and his mouth begins to open. Aramida sounds horns, but neither SCP-3000 nor subject appear to notice. 3000 moves to just above Dr. Krishnamurthy. He appears to look up into the now fully expanded jaw of 3000. Dr. Krishnamurthy says, Manava, I was wrong. God save me. It's not. SCP-3000 strikes and quickly consumes Krishnamurti.
So he was wrong. So he was wrong for that being a god. So it's not a god. Unless he was just speaking out of his ass before he died. He said Manava was wrong.
Krishnamurti.
Assuming that he's wrong for thinking that this SCP is a god.
He appears to look up into the now fully expanded jaw of 3000. Dr. Krishnamurti says, Manava, I was wrong. God save me. It's not.
Yeah, it's not.
SCP-3000
Wow.
strikes and quickly consumes Krishnamurti. 3000 disappears into the darkness and is no longer visible on exterior cameras. Rescue crews are recalled. The crew begins to initiate ATSAC protocol.
Damn.
Before we end this video, we are proud to present these incredibly sweet pieces of fan.
That was interesting. This was an interesting SCP, and I really like how they presented it. It wasn't just like a story, it was actually information about this SCP-3000, Anantashesha, and yeah, I'm kind of confused at the end. Was he finding out something that was wrong, which is him thinking that this SCP is a god, or the type of god that he was referring to? Maybe it's another, angelic or, ancient entity that we don't know about because it's just chilling underwater. Leads me to believe there's a lot more than meets the eye with this SCP. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. Also, let me know if there's anything else that the rubber might have not touched upon within this animation, because I would love to know a little bit more about this SCP. You guys are waiting for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the reaction, and this was great, man. I can see why this is some of your guys' favorite SCP. This is pretty sick. So with that all out the way, hope you guys enjoyed this reaction, and if you guys did, remember to smash that like button, also smash the sub button, and turn on post notifications so you do not miss an upload. So with that being said, unfortunately that concludes today's episode. However, I'll catch you guys on the next one. With